The night was unusually still on the outskirts of a forgotten town, where locals whispered about a lake that had long lost its innocence. The water was as dark as spilled ink, its surface broken only by the slow, deliberate ripples of unseen things. For as long as anyone could remember, Caddo Lake had been shunned, a place where the veil between worlds was alarmingly thin. Mia had always been drawn to the mysteries that lay at the edges of civilization. As a freelance photographer and writer with an appetite for the macabre, she sought stories that most would dismiss as urban legend. So when she heard about the recent reopening of an abandoned resort on the banks of Caddo Lake, she knew this was the story she had been waiting for. Driving down a narrow, twisting road lined with ancient oak trees draped in moss, Mia felt the oppressive silence of the swamp. The further she ventured, the heavier the air became, as if saturated with memories of lost souls. The resort loomed ahead, its decaying structure silhouetted against the moonlit water. Broken windows and peeling paint told a tale of neglect, yet the air around it thrummed with a sense of anticipation, as if the building itself was waiting for someone to uncover its secrets. As Mia stepped onto the property, the crunch of gravel underfoot was the only sound. The lake's edge beckoned with a strange allure. Drawn by a mix of professional curiosity and personal fascination, she set up her camera near an old boathouse, determined to capture the spirit of the place. Night deepened, and with it the atmosphere grew more surreal. Mia's flashlight revealed odd carvings on the boathouse walls, symbols that seemed to pulsate in the beam's shaky light. Each marking was like a silent warning, etched by hands long gone, perhaps in rituals meant to appease an ancient force. While reviewing her initial photos on a small portable monitor, Mia noticed something disturbing. In the background of several shots, figures lurked in the darkness along the shore. They were faint and almost indistinguishable, like ghosts born from shadows. A chill crawled up her spine. Had her camera captured something truly otherworldly, or was her mind playing tricks under the oppressive atmosphere? Unable to shake the feeling of being watched, she decided to explore further. Leaving her equipment behind, she walked slowly along a narrow path that led from the boathouse to the water's edge. The air was thick with the scent of decay and wet earth, and every step was accompanied by a rustle in the underbrush, a symphony of nocturnal life that seemed to murmur secrets in a language she couldn't decipher. As she neared the lake, the ground beneath her feet grew softer, as if absorbing her presence. The water's surface was almost mirror-like, reflecting the scattered stars overhead. In that eerie stillness, Mia heard a sound, a gentle lapping like the murmur of someone calling her name. Mia. It seemed to whisper, carried on the wind. She paused, heart pounding, scanning the dark expanse. The voice was neither male nor female, but a low, resonant murmur that seemed to come from the lake itself. Compelled by a mix of fear and fascination, Mia waded into the shallow water. With each step, the temperature dropped, and the water grew thick and clinging around her legs. The voice, now almost audible as clear words, repeated her name. Mia. Come. Deeper. It was a call from beyond, a beckoning from something ancient. Remembering the legends of the lake, stories of rituals, of pacts made and broken, of souls trapped in the watery depths, she couldn't help but feel that she was about to cross a threshold. As she moved further from the shore, the murmur turned into a chorus of indistinct whispers. Her breath hitched. She realized the voices were not just calling her but seemed to be echoing from every corner of the lake. The water around her churned as if disturbed by an unseen presence. Shadows began to take form beneath the surface, swirling, writhing shapes that defied explanation. Mia's instincts screamed at her to retreat, yet something deeper compelled her forward. There was beauty in the horror, a macabre allure in the forbidden. Then, in a moment that felt both eternal and fleeting, she saw it. A spectral figure rising from the water. Dressed in tattered garments that hinted at a bygone era, the figure moved with an unsettling grace. Its eyes, when they met Mia's, were hollow voids that seemed to pierce into her soul. The apparition raised a hand as if in greeting or perhaps a warning. "Do you seek the truth of Caddo?" the figure intoned, its voice resonating like the tolling of a distant bell. Mia's voice faltered. Who are you?" she managed to whisper. The figure's answer was a soft sigh, an echo that mingled with the ambient hum of the lake. "I am the keeper of secrets, the guardian of the lost," it replied cryptically. "Within these waters lie the sins of the past and the hope of redemption. But know this, to know the truth is to embrace the curse. Before Mia could react, the figure dissolved into a mist that mingled with the fog rising from the lake. The haunting vision left her shaken, heart pounding as the whispers resumed around her. The following days were a blur of restless nights and unsettling discoveries. Mia returned to the resort to piece together the story of Caddo Lake. In the musty archives of the local town library, she uncovered old records and faded photographs that painted a grim picture. The resort had once been a thriving getaway, hosting secretive gatherings and mysterious ceremonies led by a reclusive cult. The cult worshipped an enigmatic deity said to dwell beneath the lake's depths, a being that promised immortality in exchange for blood and devotion. Residents had long reported bizarre occurrences, the disappearance of children, inexplicable drownings, and strange figures seen wandering along the shore. The legend spoke of a time when the lake itself was a living, breathing entity, a force that consumed the souls of those who dared to cross its boundary. Mia's research also led her to an old journal penned by a former cult member, a man who had escaped the clutches of the lake's curse. His final entry was a desperate plea: "The lake is hungry. It devours hope and leaves only despair. Beware its murmur, for it calls to the lost and the damned." Haunted by these words, Mia felt the pull of the lake growing ever stronger. She couldn't help but wonder if her encounter with the spectral figure had been fate, or a trap set by a malevolent force determined to claim another victim. One moonless night, driven by a compulsion she could no longer ignore, Mia returned to the lake. The air was eerily silent, the usual chorus of nocturnal creatures absent, as if nature itself had been silenced. With only her flashlight to guide her, she made her way to the spot where she had seen the figure. This time the lake was different. The surface roiled with an intensity that belied its calm appearance from afar. As Mia stepped onto a dilapidated wooden dock, the ground beneath her seemed to hum with energy. The lake's murmur had evolved into a near-deafening chorus, a cacophony of voices, each one crying out in anguish and desire. Suddenly, the water surged, and from its depths emerged dozens of spectral figures. They moved like a tide, their eyes blank yet filled with unspoken torment. They circled the dock as if marking her as one of their own. Mia's breath came in short, panicked gasps. The ghosts of the past had returned, and they were not welcoming. In the midst of the spectral horde, the keeper of secrets reappeared. This time, it was no solitary figure but a host of apparitions, each representing a fragment of the lake's tortured history. They converged upon Mia, their voices merging into a single overwhelming cry that resonated in her very bones. "Embrace us, child," they chanted in unison, their words echoing across the water. "Join the lost, surrender to the deep." Mia's mind raced. Was this the lake's curse taking hold, or a desperate plea for help from souls trapped in eternal limbo? The boundary between terror and sympathy blurred as she felt herself teetering on the edge of oblivion. In the grip of overwhelming dread, Mia stumbled backward, her flashlight slipping from her grasp and plunging her into darkness. The spectral figures closed in, their cold, ethereal hands reaching out to claim her. In that moment, Mia's terror transformed into a strange clarity, a realization that the lake was not merely a repository of cursed souls, but a living force, a mirror to the darkest parts of human nature. She fell to her knees, the water lapping at her skin as if in silent communion. The keeper of secrets knelt before her, its eyes now filled with a sorrow that belied its fearsome appearance. "Do you understand?" it whispered. "The lake is our sanctuary and our prison. It holds the memories of every sin committed on its shores. To escape is to forget who we are." Mia's mind reeled with the weight of this revelation. The lake was not evil by nature. It was a vessel for human transgression, a silent witness to the endless cycle of hope and despair. It had drawn her in not to condemn her, but to show her the true face of humanity, a reflection of every buried secret and every unspoken regret. In that dark embrace, Mia felt the boundary between herself and the lake dissolve. The spectral figures faded into a gentle ripple, the cacophony of voices softening into a melancholy lullaby. Her senses, once overwhelmed by terror, were now filled with a profound sorrow and an inexplicable sense of belonging. It was as if the lake had finally recognized her as one of its own, a keeper of secrets herself. When dawn broke, the first rays of sunlight crept over the horizon, casting a pale glow upon the water. The lake, once a maelstrom of spectral voices, lay silent and undisturbed as if nothing had occurred during the night. Mia found herself alone on the dock, the memory of the night's horrors mingling with a newfound understanding of the lake's curse. Returning to civilization, she struggled to reconcile her experiences with the world around her. The journal she had discovered, the old records, and the whispers of the town all seemed like fragments of a dream, yet the scars on her soul were all too real. The line between reality and nightmare had blurred, leaving her with a haunting question. Was she truly free, or had the lake claimed her in a way that could never be undone? In the days that followed, Mia began to document her experiences, her writing a blend of horror and melancholy that resonated with anyone who dared to confront their own inner demons. She held secret meetings with those who had encountered similar fates, each sharing a tale of inexplicable loss and haunting beauty. Together they pieced together the story of Caddo Lake, a story of sin, redemption, and the enduring power of memory. Yet, as her work gained recognition, Mia found that the lake's influence could not be entirely escaped. In quiet moments, when the world seemed to fade into silence, she would hear the faint murmur of water, the echo of lost voices calling her name. The lake had marked her, just as it had marked countless souls before her, leaving her forever entwined with its dark legacy. Years later, Mia would return to the shores of Caddo Lake, not as a frightened wanderer, but as a guardian of its hidden truths. She understood now that the lake was not merely a place of horror, but a repository of every secret, every sin, and every act of redemption that had ever been committed on its banks. It was a living chronicle of human frailty and resilience, a mirror that reflected the darkest and the brightest facets of the human soul. Sitting by the water's edge, Mia would often write letters to the lake, a ritual of confession and communion. In those solitary moments, as the wind rustled through the trees and the water whispered its timeless secrets, she found a bittersweet solace. The lake had taken much from her, but in its relentless embrace, it had also given her a profound understanding of life, death, and the inescapable legacy of our own choices. And so, the legend of Caddo Lake endured, its waters carrying the voices of the lost and the redeemed. For those brave enough to listen, it offered not only horror but the promise of truth, a truth as deep and unfathomable as the lake itself. In the end, the true terror lay not in the supernatural forces that haunted the lake, but in the reflection of our own inner darkness, a darkness that, once acknowledged, could never be entirely banished. Caddo Lake remained a silent sentinel on the edge of existence, forever waiting to whisper its secrets to those willing to risk everything for a glimpse into the abyss.
That's it for tonight's tale. But don't worry, there's always more where that came from. Be sure to stay tuned for even more nerve-thrilling horror stories every single week. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and join us here at the Hollow Horror. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Until then, stay safe. Or stay scared. See you next time.